What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. from a normal location at a normal time. The continuity of service was a little disrupted last week for various reasons. We had crazy video times and crazy podcast times and etc. because it was crazy times. It was traveling. We were on the road. I had a family. Well, I haven't taken any time off in forever. And so we went and visited some family that I haven't seen in many years. Also had to go to a funeral on Saturday, not for family, for another friend that passed away last week, 1,000 miles away from here. So I wanted to make sure that I went to that while I was there. So yeah, it was an eventful week, and super fun, actually. The funeral wasn't fun, but I did get to see a bunch of friends and stuff. So that's very cool. So we had a good time. For those of you that are not familiar with our channel, these are ad-free live stream podcasts that we upload, this one on Tuesday anyway, that we upload to the podcast platforms later in the week. So you'll probably get a double upload this week because I didn't do it last week because Elonernet is great. Starlink is great in the van. Link in the description for an affiliate link, actually. But it's slower than it is here. So it's not slow, but it's slower than it is here. So we're going to do a bunch of catching up with that stuff. So if you want to help support the channel, you can use a super chat, obviously, to ask a question. We're going to have a great conversation today. I'm super stoked about this conversation that we're about to have. You can also go to DylanTalksTone.com and you can buy pickups and capacitors and all kinds of fun stuff, even guitars, which is really cool. We have one left, which is right there. We have affiliate links, like I mentioned. And yeah, the other thing too is the format today is very similar to what we're going to do, what we do on our second channel. So we have Dylan Talks Tone 2, the number 2. Is also another YouTube channel that I kind of started just to go over comments and kind of interact with some of the folks in the comments section. I just feel it's fun to do. And there's also some guitar related, but not this doesn't really belong on this channel stuff over there. So, it's kind of more fun. It's just for fun. So I'm not saying that I want to have, 1 million subscribers over there or anything. But if you're into what we do, you'll dig it. The other thing is we are going out to Texas Toast Guitars next week to build a guitar, which is really, really neat. Brianna's coming with me. I will tell you that we are on top of things. So the wait times are for products, even with the traveling that we've been doing, is right on. So it's usually about 2 weeks, and we're right there, even a little bit less. So even though we've got a bunch of stuff going on, don't worry. If you want to order something today, you'll have it within the time frame that is normal for us. So you'll dig that. So don't stress about that. The only other thing that's kind of gone a little haywire is our Runway Audio cables that they make at Runway Audio and then ship for us. He had a back order on the Tech Flex that is exclusive to us. And so that just got resolved today. So if you've been waiting on a Runway Audio cable, that has gotten resolved and everything is cool. So that should be going out to you pretty quick. Okay, so let's talk about Tonewood. Okay, so yesterday, I did this video yesterday that was really interesting. I've been wanting to think about this in a different way. I made a post on Facebook the other day, and I was like, if you're into cheap guitars and you're into Tonewood, you're contradicting yourself. And it's kind of true, right? So if you're like really, really into wood, then cheap guitars don't give you the best wood, right? And then it made me think about it, though, as I'm playing that carbon fiber guitar all week, because I had it with me, and it never went out of tune, and it was awesome. I'm like, why are people stuck on wood? Like, why are they stuck on wood? And so that's why I said, you can't say tone. So leave tone out of it. What is the other thing? What are the other things that make you stuck on wood as a material? Because I think people really are. You could come up with the coolest material, synthetic material or otherwise, doesn't matter. Natural material, I don't care. You can make it out of hemp, doesn't matter to me. And people would still be like, but it's not wood. And I don't know why. I don't get that. So I asked everybody. I said, get in the comments and tell me what's important to you about your guitar that makes it to where you feel like you have to have wood, number one. And if you were going to have a different material, what would that material have to be to make you happy, right? And there was this was a really cool conversation. And so we're going to continue that today. And we're going to talk about some of that. Because I think it's super neat because the industry tells us we're supposed to be stuck on it. But see, here's the thing. We are the ones that spend the money. So if we said we wanted something different, they would have to make something different. It would be a slow ship to turn, right? I'm not saying that just because a million people said, I want a carbon fiber PRS, they would make a carbon fiber PRS. Because there is also brand identity. There is what they believe in. There is whatever, right? So that's not to say that, but it is to say that if somebody really would buy new materials and new cool stuff like that, that new companies could spring from that. I'm not saying you'd get a carbon fiber Gibson or a Fender or a PRS or some synthetic whatever as we talk about this. But there might be some new company, and there are, that do these things. Artistides, for example, is an excellent example. So we're going to go through some of these comments that you all mentioned, that you all talked about, and we're going to talk about some of them. And I'm just going to tell you that we're throwing out all the ones that are like, yeah, but Tonewood, or Tonewood's fake, or Tonewood's real. That's not part of the conversation. I want to know what is important to you about your guitar that you really care about when it comes to the instrument. So a few of these folks, this is an interesting question, response. We play guitar as a means to express how we feel. So that sense of play and feel and what we're playing with is king. Additionally, where the psychoacoustic effect is real, all psychological means at our disposal to keep us playing and feeling good about it will have tangible results about how we improve or how we create. So, yeah. So he says that he doesn't believe in Tonewood this way other people do, but how the guitar feels when he plays it is important, and I agree. Nobody likes to play like a dead fish. You know what I mean? Let's see. So this guy's trying to tell us that all woods are blah blah blah. Okay. I like wood because it's natural. I think it's fascinating how every piece of wood is different and unique. The grain, the look, the weight, and all of that. And so that's true. Same thing. I think that the character of each instrument is cool, even if it's just appearance, right? Even if it's just appearance or weight or balance or whatever. When you pick up a guitar that's the same brand that's not yours and you go, oh, yeah, this feels a little different than mine. That's kind of neat, right? That's kind of neat. It's an interesting thing. Perceived value. I think it all boils down to that. Having a flame maple top seems more noble than a plain top. Same thing with ebony versus rosewood or Indian laurel and so forth. Same for brands. Yeah, like brand names and etc. There's like a hierarchy of value perception, which is interesting because I'm sure we've all seen that, right? That's a thing where fancy wood must be more expensive, but fancy wood's actually worse. It's kind of weird, when it comes to like structural and stuff. But it looks cool, so it's worth having, right? I like a guitar where the headstock snaps off if you drop it. I don't know why you're dropping your guitars. I don't know why people have such a hard time holding on to the guitars. That makes no sense to me. Look and feel are huge parts. The fact that it's a quote-unquote living material also creates a psychological connection that inspires most players, but it's dead. The guitar is dead. The guitar is not alive. It does not breathe. Scientifically, it is just as dead as a piece of plastic. It is dead. There's nothing live about it. So, I get what you're saying. As an aerospace manufacturing engineer, I've been impressed by the designs from rough guitars. I looked into them today after I saw this comment, actually. Yeah, super cool. Weight isn't a huge issue for me. Strength and stability is. So if you had a synthetic material that was strong enough, stiff enough, etc., and stability. Looks are very important. I like thin finishes, clear, or at least let some wood grain show through. So you really care about the appearance of the wood, which is a tough one in any sort of synthetic material, right? How do you make a synthetic material pretty? You know, actually, it's funny. I have this pocket knife in my hand, in my pocket today, and it's carbon fiber, but it's like this layered carbon fiber stuff, and it's got copper and brass and stuff in it. It's really neat. So I'm sure that there's ways that you could make very individually charactered synthetic materials. You know, there's various micartas and various, you know, even Richlite you can do very cool stuff with. So yeah. I like the way it smells. Okay, so a lot of folks, this is funny. This came up a few times today. A lot of folks did say they like the way wood smells, but the thing is, wood doesn't smell for long. Like, it goes away. And you smell the finish more than you smell the wood, actually. So that's an interesting one. I will say I don't like the way carbon fiber smells. Weight is a big one for a lot of folks. Been building custom tube amps. I can make any guitar sound great. Okay, so he cares about the amp more than he cares about the guitar. Not having to adjust the truss rod or retuning as often would be amazing, but I really do prefer the look of wood. I would be down for a synthetic neck, but not the body, and the neck would not have to feel cold. So this is a big one too. I agree. Metal sucks because it's cold. Carbon fiber is better because it warms up very quickly. Carbon fiber is probably the most stable thing available right now. I have 4 carbon fiber neck guitars, and they are extremely stable. I actually have a wood neck guitar with 2 wood neck guitars with carbon fiber reinforcements, and they're really good too for stability. But you could do a cross of each. So like, for example, a McPherson acoustic guitar is wood on the outside and carbon fiber on the inside, and it's super stiff and doesn't need to be adjusted ever. So that's pretty neat. It's the looks. It's the warmth when you touch it. And it's the very concept of an electric guitar made of wood as vintage. Okay. Let's see. That's talking about actual Tonewood. People arguing about Tonewood. I don't really care about that. Somebody said they really care about the neck being maple because that's the way they like it to look. They don't want dark colors. Okay. A lot of folks, wood smells good. A lot of folks really, really, really care about how it looks. That seems to be more than anything. Looks, weight, balance. Now, all of these things could probably be done with some sort of synthetic material, except for looks. But there are ways around that, right? There's is it Emerald who makes the carbon fiber guitar with the wood tops? They look pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see. Hey. Let me go down through here, and then I'll go back in the comments, and then we'll talk about this real quick. I'm just going down through here. People are talking about weight. So appearance, weight, stiffness. It kind of starts to repeat after a while. It looks like everybody kind of has the same idea. So we'll go through our comments here. I think harder wood is better for a more stable neck. It doesn't necessarily have to be hard. It's about the grain structure, really. You like maple? Let's see. Weight relief is the ongoing reason why I want to sand larger reliefs into the back of my Les Paul. Interesting. Composites will often be better than wood and more stable. Yes, it's true. I want an aquarium guitar that I can put goldfish inside. Is John 5 has like a hollow acrylic guitar with antifreeze in it, and so when you move it around, it's like all like a lava lamp almost. It's pretty cool. I really don't care what it's made out of, as long as it feels, plays, and looks good. Weight is a factor. Weight seems to be a big one. Matt always says that somebody says, when they pick up a guitar, nobody says, oh, this guitar is heavy, it's awesome. Most people are like, ooh, this is nice and light. Nobody really wants, and not nobody, there are some folks that do, but the prevailing opinion, I think, is that most people would care about weight being lighter than heavier. I found that people hear as much with their eyes, with their ears, and visually, a black guitar really accentuates the movements of a guitarist's fingers. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so the Lexan guitars, who did that? There's a couple people that made those, and they were not Lexan. They were actually acrylic, and they were really, really heavy. But I think there's ways around that now. I think that a lot of these things that we talk about can be done with lots of different materials. I don't think it has to be wood. There's a lot of synthetic materials that are very easily millable, which means you could really control the weight. And then it would have to be stiff enough to be stable. I think about a lot of. I tell you what makes me think about this a bunch is in the knife world. I'm sitting here looking at my wall of knives over there. In the knife world, barely anyone uses wood anymore for a knife handle. Like if it's a more modern knife company, and they have various, and the reason is because of the instability of it, right? So I have a Winkler over there that's maple, and it's really cool, but you have to continually take care of it so that it doesn't crack, so that it, you know what I mean? And then of course the Buck 110 has actually leftover rosewood from Taylor guitars. Actually, that's what a Buck 1. If you ever go buy a Buck 110 folding hunter pocket knife, which is the normal pocket knife, that's the one everybody knows, the Buck 110. Go and buy one of those because they actually use leftover ebony. I think it's ebony cutoffs from the Taylor factory. So there's a guitar connection there. But there's so many other materials that are used now. Different kind of micartas, which is basically like a resin infused canvas that can be done in all kinds of different colors and patterns and stuff and layers and various things like that. I've got a bunch of different stuff like that over there. G10 is a millable, I don't want to call it fiberglass, but it is a glass fiber that is millable that could be used. And then the other thing too is you could make guitars out of more than one material. I think having a multiple piece body that has something lighter for the main body and then something different for the top would be no big deal. I think there's a way to do things with a lot of different materials. Now, cost wise and stuff, I don't know, right? But There's a lot of semi-synthetics like Richlite. Richlite's pretty heavy. If you take a 2-inch thick slab of Richlite and make a guitar out of it, it's going to weigh like 12 pounds. It's really heavy. Because I've talked to the guys at Richlite about doing that, and we decided not to do it because it's really heavy. So you'd have to, there's various things. I don't know about micarta, for example, canvas micarta, and not just canvas micarta, but there's other kinds of micarta that you could use that would be able to be milled. Again, G10's neat because it's a glass fiber, but in its natural form, it's translucent, and then you can dye it whatever color you want, which is pretty neat. And you could also do it in a bunch of different layers, like plies. So I think that synthetic materials could actually open up a bunch of new things. We're playing around a bunch with just in the pickup material world, we're playing around a bunch with acrylics and poured acrylics with different patterns and different various things like that, different designs. And I don't know why you couldn't make a body that was, partially some other synthetic material and then an acrylic top that still was weight, acceptable. I don't know. I think, except for the folks that are like, okay, I have to have a curly maple top because I like wood. Then I think you could do a synthetic thing with some sort of wood laminate on the top that would still give you that beauty, sort of like the emerald stuff. There's a lot of possibilities. It's kind of cool. If we were just open to doing it, The Flaxwood guitars is kind of neat. I have played one of those. Actually, the Flaxwood. So one of my buddies plays for Reba McIntyre, and he has 2 of those. And he gave me one for like a year, and I put my DAFs in it. He's got it now again, but that's a very interesting guitar. Yeah, it feels like fiberglass when you look at it. It looks like a boat basically, but it's not. It's like a reconstituted wood mush something that's like machinable and then finishable and stuff. It's pretty cool, actually. Let's see. I have a bunch of Gibsons, but I'm not stuck on wood only. It should look as cool as it sounds, and I should see it and think, I need to pick that up. I agree. I'm kind of with you on that. Folks are always like, but the tone. And I'm like, no, man. Like, if you don't even want to pick the guitar up in the first place, the tone doesn't even matter. If it's ugly, if it's a dumb shape, if it's stupid looking to you, like for some reason, like, I mean, if you never want to pick the guitar up, then the tone has zero, doesn't even matter, right? So yeah, no, I get it. I don't know about guitars. Let's see. That's stupid. Lexan is okay. The Lexan's hard to work with. Let me go backwards because somebody's talking about something here. And yeah, tradition is really the thing, right? Weight is a big one, and I like different color options. Yeah, exactly. As a lefty, I'm just happy to get a guitar at all. Dude, if you need a left-handed guitar that's cool, that not everybody else has, you let me know, and I will make it happen for you. For sure. Absolutely. Pine is not considered a tone wood. I mean, au contraire. It's every acoustic guitar is a pine top. Yeah. No, this is an interesting conversation. I think what needs to happen is people just need to be more open to it. We just need to be more open to different materials and different ways of doing stuff, And I think that there will be at some point, there already is, but I think there will be more smart folks out there who are like, that really know this stuff. You know, I know a fair amount about stuff, but not how it applies. So my power sports days, we did a lot of prototyping with all kinds of materials and machining and all that kind of stuff. But with a guitar, I haven't spent the time. Somebody said yesterday in the comments, they're like, "Oh, you're using us to crowdsource research for your next product or whatever." And I'm like, "No, I'm genuinely curious about this. I'm not going to go invent some new product or, you know, use this to come out with some new guitar. I'm not going to do that. Because this isn't my area. I'm mostly thinking about almost like the psychological need of guitar players to have wood and no other thing is good enough, which is weird. I don't get it. But it looks like there's a lot of you folks in the comments today that might be more open to stuff that, you know, is different. Is different than this. Is there anything cooler than an SG Junior? No, not really. They're pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, and it has to be somebody has a Lava Me acoustic, which is one of the less expensive synthetic guitars. Those are neat. Yeah. Those Flaxwood things are neat. That was a few years ago. They're really, really interesting guitars, and they have like some kind of graphite neck. If you go back on my website or on my channel, probably 5 or 6 years, we've got a bunch of videos with one. It's a white one, and they're very cool. I played it a lot. I gigged it a bunch. I played it out. Like, I was playing in a band at the time, and I played it a lot. That guitar was really cool, and it was really light, had great balance. It felt really good. It sounded awesome. The neck was really good. A lot of synthetic necks, especially from that era, kind of felt plasticky. And I think for the most people who have a objection to synthetic materials, everybody's brain wants to go straight to plastic. But there are millions of different kinds of plastic. So plastic's just not plastic. This is something I've been learning since sounds stupid and nerdy, but since I've been in the fountain pen side of things on one of my other hobbies, you start to learn that all these various plastics are different. Right? It's not just plastic. We're not talking about like like this, I don't know, whatever, like the keys on this keyboard, this plastic that you think of everything's made of plastic, or this, this handle on this cup right here, like it's plastic. But there are so many different kind of synthetics that are made now. And then there are naturally derived synthetics. Let me see if I can grab one. This is a custom knife maker out of Maine. And this handle has a bunch of pattern to it. See, it's got a bunch of pattern, but see, it's milled. But this is actually resin-infused cloth. It's called micarta. And it can be done in a bunch of different colors and dyed a bunch of different ways and then milled however you want. And, so this would be like a cross between a natural material and something that is quote unquote synthetic, because it's not wood, but it is made from natural fibers, right? It's warm. It's not cold. It doesn't feel like wood, but it doesn't not feel like wood. So there's lots of stuff like this that could be used, right? Super interesting. I just think it's neat to think about the possibility Let's see. I also like that I can sand a wood neck if the finish is too sticky. So this came up also. I actually missed this comment when we were going through them just a minute ago, but I did catch one person who said, I can work with wood. I can't work with those other materials. And that is a good point, right? So like, if you want to build a guitar, if you want to work on your guitar, like Graham just mentioned, and you have carbon fiber or you have some material like this, you may not have the facilities or the tools or the knowledge or the skill because it's a different material. I'm not saying you couldn't learn it, but at least initially you would have to learn it again, right? It would be a different thing. You would have to, like, even Richlight, for example, it takes different tools than wood. Even though it feels and sort of looks like wood, it takes different tools because the hardness is different. So you would have to adapt to it and you would have to learn it. Carbon fiber takes a whole thing because of the dust is not good for you. When I went to McPherson and I toured their factory, their factory where they make their carbon fiber acoustics, they have like these rooms that are like basically cut off from everywhere else because you go in there with like a full like bodysuit on with a mask and everything, and because you don't want to be breathing that stuff and getting it on you all the time. So it's a very difficult, I don't say very difficult, but much more differently handled material when it comes to the actual manufacture of it. And then I've seen a couple other materials. One of my buddies sent me a video about some new super wood thing that is basically like they take regular wood and they like smash it and compact it and it makes it super strong and then it can be way thinner. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff going on. Poly infused wood. Yeah. So, I don't think I have any stabilized wood handles. Oh, I do actually. Hang on. So this, I know we're talking about pocket knives, but the same stuff could apply to guitars. This is what is this thing? This is a Boker from Germany, a Solingen Boker. And if you look at this has got like burled wood handle, right? But that's actually wood that has then been infused with resin to stabilize it so that it does not split or come apart or dry out or whatever. So yeah, there are ways to kind of meld the two. And then you don't need finish on this. And it's not heavy. I don't know how they do it. I've seen companies that do it because from the knife manufacturing stuff, I've seen where you can send wood and they'll, it's a pressure thing where they actually infuse it into there. I can't remember what it's called, but they call it stabilized wood. It would be pretty interesting, to try different stuff like that. I actually have a guitar with a fingerboard of infused wood, a cheap guitar. I actually like that New Zealand trash wood fingerboard more than most of my Laurel fingerboards. I actually have a Martin, one of those old Martin LXMs. Remember those? It has a Richlight fretboard, but it has a composite wood neck. That's pretty neat. And then high pressure laminates are another thing, but to me, you start to lose feel with those, right? They start to feel like plastic. Some of those high pressure laminates, I suppose it depends on what you use and how you finish them, but they start to feel a little weird, start to feel a little plasticky. What a guitar is made of, or simply how beautiful it is, nurtures inspiration. Without inspiration, there would be no hit songs. Yeah, I agree. And I think that could be different for a lot of people, right? I mean, each person could be inspired differently to by different materials, by different looks, by different feels. I think part of it is that there is just this assumption that you can't be inspired by anything but wood. Here's the other thing too, is times are a changing. So, we grew up, me and anybody older than me grew up with no internet and no, nothing weird. No, as far as materials go, just a guitar, right? Tube amps, no digital stuff. And so we have a certain expectation. We have a certain, the impression of those things that have been left on us. That's what inspires us, right? But just because that's what inspires us doesn't mean that's what inspires somebody else. And so younger folks who don't know a world without iPads, and not to make you feel old or anything, but my oldest is 24 years old. And I'll tell you right now, she doesn't remember a time without touchscreens. So if that makes you feel old, that's whatever. It's just happens. But so now you have full on adults with like real jobs and real brains who don't know a time period in history without a touchscreen, without a computer, without the internet, without more interesting technology than just an old-fashioned guitar. So their expectations of what is possible are different than people that grew up without those things. And so we're going to be seeing more, I believe, we're going to be seeing more and more of it, of interesting materials. And, and your point about inspiration is really important, but I also think that we have to be open to the fact that other things are going to inspire other people differently than they inspired us. The tools for making art kind of need to be art themselves, in my personal opinion. That's how I feel. I like my tools to be pieces of art. That's why I like a really cool pocket knife. That's why I'm carrying this really cool handmade in Massachusetts pocket knife, because I like it to be a piece of art. It doesn't just need to be a blunt instrument. Well, it's a knife, so it shouldn't be blunt, but you know what I mean. Same thing with a guitar, right? But sometimes the most bland, boring thing, like my surf green Telecaster, is inspiring in the fact that it's the original, right? So there's different things for different reasons for different things. And would I want all of my guitars made out of some crazy material? No. Do I like my guitars that are made out of crazy materials? Yes. I want all of them, right? Hang up the phone. What does that even mean? Yeah. Let's see. I read a comment from an employee at the Fender factory to say that no two guitars coming off the assembly line sounds exactly the same, even when made of the same material. No, you're right. It's just kind of the way it is, because there's no two identical pieces of wood. There's no two identical pickups. There's no two identical anything, really. Oh my gosh, you guys with the old school sayings. This is funny. Yeah, man. No, this is a fun conversation. I'm glad we were able to have it today. I think it's and somebody said in the comments yesterday of that video, they were like, I'm tired of talking about this. I hope this is a constructive conversation. And I have to say, thank you to everybody who did participate in the comment section yesterday, and no doubt will participate in the comment section today, for kind of getting the idea of this. I feel like anytime somebody makes a post or a video about this kind of thing, it just spirals into people being mad at each other for not thinking the way they do about something, where this was more of just like an exploratory, I wonder what if, you know what I mean? Like what if I really like am honest with myself, what is important? And some people, you know what? They're always going to want wood. They are always going to want it, which is cool. But what if you think about something in a new way? I mean, start Googling around. Look around your house that's for stuff that's not guitars, that comes in different materials that you think is cool. I don't know if you're into fishing, but you start looking at different synthetic materials for fishing rods, and why are they made the way they're made? Because it's flex and vibration and strength and rigidity. It's the same exact thing as a guitar. Gun stocks, all that kind of materials made out of that stuff now. It's not all just wood anymore. Knives, as we mentioned, even kitchen knives, all kinds of stuff that you can look around and say, oh, that actually does work. And in an electric guitar, it could work very similarly. I'm not saying exactly the same, but just as a kind of an imagination sort of what if experiment. It's a cool conversation to have. I'm kind of curious about that aluminum body headless guitar that I've seen on a few channels, but I kind of don't like the sound of the pickups that come stock. Well, Wendell, we have a video coming for you because I have one of those. And a customer of mine and a Patreon member bought one, and it just came in yesterday. And I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. And we are going to put new pickups in that guitar, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to do a bunch of engraving on it. We're going to do a bunch of neat stuff with the guitar. So that guitar is actually, it just came in. So subscribe to the channel and you will see what we do with it. We're going to put some, because I agree, the pickups are okay for a budget instrument because it is very much a budget. I think it's only like $600 or $800 or something. It's not that expensive for what it is. It's really cool. But yeah, it needs new pickups. So what would we put in it? Honestly, I would really put Super 8s in it. I would put our DylanTalksTone Super 8s in that guitar, but I want to do some neat things with it. Yeah, that's a really cool guitar. Awesome. Well, just in time for my dog to go into crazy seal mode in the living room, I'm going to let you guys go. And thanks for hanging out. This has been super fun. Thanks again, like I said, for the constructive conversation, not being an idiot about it, but actually talking about guitar stuff. It's really awesome. And we'll probably see you tomorrow. We'll definitely see you Thursday. And we will talk to you all very soon.